Hi, my name is Rachel Bella, and this is my introduction for Module 1. So, where I teach, I currently teach at an elementary school in the KCK school district. I'm teaching first grade. I looped this year with my kiddos, which I was really grateful for after the way last year ended. Previously, though, I taught kindergarten for 4 years. I've been in the same building this whole time. It's a Title I school. We have a very high ESOL population, with around 85% of our building being ESL students. School this year, we have been virtual all year, and unfortunately, our board voted that we will not return until at least April, if even then. If we did return, it would be in the hybrid model. So half of my class that chose to send their students back would be Monday, Tuesday. Everybody would be virtual Wednesday. And then the second half that were not Monday, Tuesday would be there on Thursday and Friday. And if they were not on their in-person days, they would be virtual. So been a really challenging time. I'm really hoping to step foot back in the classroom with the kiddos this year, but that's unfortunately not looking very promising at this point. A little about me. I'm originally from Lindsborg, Kansas. I graduated from Fort Hays State with my degree in elementary education and a minor in special education. I currently live in Olathe with my husband and 2 dogs, and we enjoy spending time with our niece and our nephews whenever we can. The 3 mindsets. So these were that all students can learn and grow, social capital and teamwork will always outperform individual talent, and happiness is a choice. Looking at these and reading about them all, I do agree with them all. I think that some schools, I know our school is already adapting. Our leader, our principal, has adapted some of these already, such as the number 2. We do a lot of PLC work within our teams. And obviously, number 1 and number 3 are very important as well. The 5 types of dispositions. So confidence, risk taker, indecisive, sense of humor, empathetically assertive, and a learner. I agree with all of these as well. I think with these, though, the challenging piece comes with finding the balance, because I think if you have too much of one and not enough of another, it can throw things off course and make you into a leader that others might not want to be led by, just depending on how you balance those out and work and present yourself within those. The 3 types of practices: focus on prioritizing, examining feedback and data, and emotional intelligence. I think these are all great. I think one thing that comes to mind, though, is that a lot of the times building leaders, district, everyone, they want all the data, and you give them the data, but then nothing is really done with the data. So I think number 2 is really important, that you're examining it, that you're not just collecting it and doing nothing with it. The key part here, and the key word that sticks out to me, is examining, because so many times we've put together and compiled data for whether it be at a building level or at a building level so they can give to their leaders and everyone up top, and then nothing's done with it. And that I find very frustrating, because there's no point in collecting the data if you're not going to do anything with the data once you have it. So I think that's one thing that sticks out there. The 8 principles of ethical leadership were personal courage, public interest ahead of self-control, self-discipline and integrity, task and employee centeredness, recognizing talent, requiring high ethics from everyone, sensitivity and understanding, and inclusiveness. All great things. Once again, I think it's important that as a leader you remember all of these, because I think it can be easy to get caught up in others and then forget to look and do some of the other ones that are equally as important. So once again, that balance comes into play. The personal critique on mindset for me, personally, the most difficult one for me would definitely be teacher collaboration over isolation. It's very challenging at times when you're on a team, when you know you have lower performing teachers with you, and it's very hard for me not to just take control of my team and do different tasks for that lower performing teacher, because I know that the result from me or one of my other teammates will be much better, whereas if they were to do it, the result might not be what we were wanting. And then I think it's important to remember that with happiness and optimism, it can be challenging at times, as you don't want to show false positivity, as that can then turn around and actually become very toxic and impact the environment for everyone, especially in today's craziness that's teaching through the pandemic that you want to remain happy and optimistic as a leader, but also within reason, because once you start to show that false positivity, that can turn the whole building dynamic into actually more of a toxic one rather than a positive one. My personal thoughts on the dispositions, all are great. However, I feel like with too much of one, the balance can be difficult, resulting in poor leadership. So the thing that comes to mind is having I understand how that's incredibly important, but I think sometimes if you come off with too much confidence and too much power, that it could come off of arrogant, and then others are not open to wanting to be led by you and learn from you. And then it ties back into looking as though you aren't there for learning and you're not open-minded to that, which is also one of the dispositions that we talked about, was being a learner. So it all kind of ties together, and it's just, I feel like, a very delicate balance, and making sure that you are continuously reflecting on yourself and what you're doing. And then my personal thoughts on the ethical leadership, they're so important. And I think that recognizing talent at times is pushed aside because it's easy to say, oh, well, they're so great and they know it. But we as teachers, as students, we need to hear when we're doing a good job. And it's important to recognize when talent is there, because even though you might assume it, it makes a big difference when a leader goes out of their way to recognize and say, hey, like, great job on this, or same with students and recognizing their talents. And I also think that personal courage can be really difficult when dealing with other stakeholders and higher up leadership. If you don't agree with them. We've had some interesting things in our district over the past few years, and with the higher up leadership, it was very challenging, and a lot of the leaders, our building leaders, struggled because of out of fear of what was coming down from the top. So I think finding that courage can be very difficult and challenging at times. And the standard correlation, this allowed me to reflect on professional dispositions and norms. It was relevant because it allowed for me to see how these norms and ideas are being used with my personal leadership as a team lead for my first grade team, as well as in the building with our instructional coach and our principal. And my reflection is that this helped me to see what areas I personally can improve on as moving forward as the team lead, and working with our leadership team and different things to bring to the table with that. And my references.